melody this time.
Once more we're feeling. Hey everyone, welcome to Will It Lamp. I'm Clay.
And I'm Rory, and we take found objects and turn them into lighting.
We also make videos about how to wire up lamps and creative ways to use lighting in your space.
Today we're kicking off a new series of how-to tutorials where we're going to walk you through the nuts and bolts of everything you need to know to make your own lighting.
And we're starting simple, wiring up a plug for a lamp. It's one of the best and easiest ways to start your DIY lamping project.
We'll break it down step by step so it's easy to follow whether you're a beginner or just need a refresher.
If you're into lighting, DIY projects, or just curious about this whole process,
hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to follow along and support what we're building here.
also make sure to check out the description below to find links to all the different products and plugs that we're using in today's tutorial.
Okay, let's get started.
Let's get started.
To get started, you're gonna need a set of tools to wire up a plug. So first, your wire stripper. This is a Klein Tools wire stripper. We have one linked in the description down below so you can get yours. It mechanizes stripping the wire so that you have the exposed internal wires. This is a great tool. I use it every single day. These are your wire cutters, also an important tool to have. We have them linked below that are really great. Always great to have a screwdriver around. This one is a multi-tool so that you can change out the screw head to multiple different attachments. It just makes life more convenient so that you have everything all in one place. These are a large channel lock. They're not the largest one they can get. They're not the smallest one either, but they are really helpful. For the one particular plug that we're using, it's just gonna make life easier. Definitely will be helpful down the line for other projects. This is also linked below. It's a Klein tool. It's really awesome. These needle nose. Do we need the needle nose? We don't even need these needle nose.
We don't even need the needle nose.
They just are here for building out our color palette.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to lamp cord. You're gonna be using two different types for this video. There's so many more different types of lamp cord. We are gonna do another video tutorial about going through sort of how to use that different lamp cord. For today's purposes, we're gonna focus on two. This is what's called an SBT1 cord that's 18 gauge on either side. And then we have a cloth covered 3-wire fabric cord that has a neutral, hot, and ground wire, which will be good for the grounded plug. And
finally, the plugs that we'll be working with. First up is a standard lamp plug that I use on all of my lamps. It's really easy, super convenient, called a Polarized slide-on plug. We'll show you how it works in just a moment.
And this industrial grounded plug, which has 3 prongs to it, which uses, in this case, a rounded cord, which contains 3 wires, a ground, hot, and neutral.
Then we have this Easy Connect plug that has a slightly different connection point, also super easy, as is titled. There is one way that you can't use this, and we will explain it when we go through the different options.
Those two will use the SBT1.
We'll start with our SBT1 cord. I'm just gonna cut off these tinned ends that were already on this piece because we won't be needing them for this.
Tinned ends just mean that it's dipped in a little bit of solder, so it makes the wire hard and unbendable, which is useful for some applications, but not this.
If you look at your lamp wire, there's gonna be a side that has a slight texture to it. Sometimes this can show up instead of texture, it's a slight patterning on the cord. If it's a cloth covered cord, one side is going to be smooth and one side is going to be textured. Your smooth side is the hot side of the cord. The textured side is the neutral. This is really important because this is going to line up with the different prongs on your polarized plug. This is a polarized plug, and you can tell that by looking at the prongs on this. One is larger, that's your neutral, and one is narrower, that's the hot. So we want to line up our smooth side with the hot, narrow prong and the textured side with the large, wider, neutral prong. You're going to look at the bottom of this plug. It has a slide-in area, a pointy extrusion that's attached to this neutral prong, and a pointy extrusion that's attached to this hot prong. You're going to slide this in right here, making sure that the textured side is lining up with that neutral spike underneath. See how it grips onto it? And then you're gonna push that spiky prong into the neutral side, and then naturally the hot prong, hot spike, is gonna push right into that smooth hot side. And then it's gonna lay beautifully in this channel right here. You'll take this separate slide-on part, and you'll notice that one side has a little stopper and the other side is open. We want to put that open side first, and you're just going to kind of push it on. This is where I like to get my channel locks just to make my life a little bit easier. Sometimes these are really hard to get on. So I take this and I kind of grip onto the bottom and I grip to the top and I just squeeze it on. You could absolutely use your fingers if you're stronger than me, or you could push it up against the table to get it on. And there you have it. It's not going anywhere. The way that that slide mechanism works is it traps the cord in here and pressure sets it against those spiky bits so that the contact with the metal is really secure and the cord cannot get pulled out. And it's nice because it has that sort of linear arrangement so that it can be closer to the wall, kind of going along it. This plug is also really great for cloth covered cord.
Okay,
all right.
So for this plug, we will be using a cloth cord, which in all honesty is sort of a nightmare to work with, but they are beautiful and they are worth learning how to lamp with and use in different applications. They can be a beautiful addition. I'm gonna use not too much here. And one of my methods that I have developed is to slightly score, just go around the outside of your fabric cord and start to work off the cloth to it. Then I usually come down sort of the spine of it and strip that fabric wire.
I'm gonna get some electrical tape.
Electrical tape is great for fabric cord because it will help prevent the fabric from fraying further. A nice pair of sharp wire cutters, which we've linked below, is also really helpful in trimming things like this. So what I'm gonna do here is be really careful with how you pull the fabric down. See how I've got it nice and contained? It can go really bad, really quick. And with that score that I made on the wire, this is just starting to pull apart here.
Oh, good.
It's looking really good. And you really want to be careful with this process that you do not cut your internal wires at all. So it can be kind of a tricky process, but make sure you're really careful with this part. So you're pulling that back and then it releases the 3 wires and the internal padding, which makes the wire round. Take your very sharp wire cutters again and just trim that internal plastic. So adding the electrical tape to the fabric cord is really a great idea. This stuff frays like it's no tomorrow, and it can just be a nightmare as you start pulling it through. Then you've got frayed wire. So as Rory is doing so beautifully, cutting some electrical tape, actually you cut it in half even too.
Did it? You only want a little bit because you don't want this to stick out the bottom of the plug.
Exactly.
So you just barely want it on the end to hold it together, and then you'll trim off any excess.
We won't keep wrapping it around so it bulges out. You'll do one rotation, just slightly meet up with the other side, and then trim that electrical tape. So now you're left with this beautiful fabric wire, and it's capped off and not fraying. So then what I'm gonna wanna do is go into each wire and strip it down using our handy dandy wire strippers. They have different gauge settings. And this one has an 18 gauge, which is the wire that we're using. This thing just works so well.
I love this Klein Tool wire stripper so much. The spring release is like
heaven. I used the manual one for years. I was taught with that one, so you just do what you're taught with. And then either you or someone at the lamp shop showed me this one, and I was like, what? Wow. Never looked back. It's so much easier. So now you have these 3 beautiful wires, and you want to twist them around comme ça, and you've now prepped your fabric cord. Moving on to your grounded plug, you'll grab your multi-tool with the Phillips head on, and it's just a small Phillips head screw that is keeping the 2 pieces together. You have the casing and you have the actual metal part, which makes the connections to the wire. So once you have those 2 components separated, you thread the wires through the casing here like that and just let that live on the wire.
Typically you would be doing this after this end is already connected to your lighting source.
Totally.
So you want to remember to put the casing on before you make the connections to the plug. It's really important. If you make the connections to the plug and you realize you don't have your casing on, the worst feeling ever.
Oh my God. Unstrain relieving everything. So here I'm just going through and where these different screws attach a series of different colored screws. The green, it's kind of a little faded in this, but the green will always be ground, the gold will always be hot, and the silver will always be neutral. So you're gonna match up your wires with those different terminals. I usually sort of put my wires into position so it's really easy to check your length, check your feed, make sure everything's working. That should be okay.
I think that
Might be a little long.
It's so hard with these tight little areas. You just have to have
Exact length. And this is just, I wired up how many of these? Hundreds, and still sometimes you just have to.
Well, going too far is worse than not going far enough.
That's such a good point.
So start with a longer lead than you think, and then you can always chop away.
You can never add back on. And if I had taken too much in this case, then I would have had to start all over again. So let's try that. And why these lengths are so important is that it's such a finite place where these wires go from one place to another on this plug. So I'm gonna start with my neutral, which is the white. Stranded wire fits right in that just beautifully. And then you cinch that up and you've made your connection to your neutral. Then I'll move on to my hot and feed it right back into that channel, cinch down. We're off to the races here.
It's soothing to watch you do this.
Then we're gonna make our final connection, which is the ground. Once we're situated, we're just screwing in that terminal, and look at that. That's what you call a beautiful assembly.
It really is. Nice and tidy.
Nice and tidy. Now we're ready to reinsert it, and you just pull that up and slide it right into position. You take your set screw and screw that into position here and tighten that down. And now you have a functional ground plug.
This is such a helpful application for something like if you wanted to make an overhead pendant, a plug-in, if you didn't actually have a box in your ceiling where you could plug it in, you can put a plug at the end of it and still have a beefy enough cord that will support the weight of your pendant.
Yes.
This is something we'll explain in a later tutorial. We'll go into pendants in detail so that you could make your own. But that would be the application of this, because other plugs aren't gonna fit a rounded cord. So this would be your one.
Yep.
And it looks so cool. I love the clear.
I do too.
Our last plug is this Quick Connect.
Quick Connect.
Which has these two different parts to it. There's a trend that I'm sure you're noticing with these where there's sort of like an internal piece that is the connection point and then a casing. We are going to use the plastic cord. And you can see that it is also polarized. There is one side of the plug that is sort of narrow. This is the narrow prong always goes with the hot and the wider prong always goes with the neutral. We're going to put the cord through the casing so that it's hanging out on here. Likely the other end is already attached to your amazing table lamp that you've just made out of a weird glass head that you found at the thrift store. So these kind of open up, and just like that slide plug had those little spikes on the inside that pierced the cord and made those electrical connections, this has the same thing, just in a different orientation. So we're gonna see that the skinny one, or the hot prong, has a spike that orients on the top and goes in, and the wide neutral prong has a spike that orients on the bottom and goes in. I'm saying top and bottom just simply because of the way that I'm holding it and looking at it right now, but it'll help me orient where my cord goes. So I'm finding my ridged side of the cord, which is the neutral, and I'm orienting that on the bottom. And my smooth side, which is the hot, is orienting at the top, so that the spike that corresponds with the narrow hot prong is gonna go straight into my soft hot wire in my cord. And the neutral wide prong is going into the ridged side of my cord that is the neutral. So once that is inserted right in there, I'm just gonna close these in, and it's gonna pierce into those wires and make that connection super easy for me. The only thing that you really have to pay attention to is that neutral goes to neutral and hot goes to hot. So the last thing is I'm just gonna push this back in, and sometimes pushing these in can be kind of tricky, so I'll actually like put this down on the table and use a screwdriver and just get it in between those prongs and push it in.
Yep.
snaps into place. It will take a little bit of force.
But that's strain relief that you're looking for too.
That's really clamping down on this cord. Now, the reason that you can't use this plug with cloth covered cord is because of this clamping mechanism going through too many layers. It really won't make a good connection, and there's not enough space in here around this little port for an extra layer of fabric. So that's why you wouldn't use this with the cloth covered cord, rather you would use that slide plug. Look how neat, looks so good.
Yeah, I love this little plug. Quick connect.
Quick connect. I think it's the fastest one.
Want to grab coffee? Quick
connect. It was something that we'll go over in a future episode. Non-polarized plugs, where you actually don't have to worry about whether neutral goes to neutral and hot goes to hot. It doesn't matter. When it's non-polarized, it's just foolproof. So anything that you do, you're not gonna have electrical issues with a non-polarized plug. However, these are polarized. These are linked below, so let us know if you have any questions. We'll be sure to answer anything that you are wondering about. Let us know if you want us to make a more specific video about something in particular around plugs. We're building this channel with you, and we're excited to help you with any project you have going on.
Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel on the link below. We will be rolling out so many more lamping tutorials in the next few weeks, and we're really excited to share more of these tutorials with you. I'm like a Stepford wife. Wow.
That's actually how movies are made.
Really? No. Oh my God, I'm so gullible. This is like, when you see actors doing this, like, Jesus Christ.